Welcome to Kill the Clock. This is the NFL edition, the second podcast. We're in week 5. Here with me is Shahin Korigani.
What
How's it
up?
going, Shahin?
How's it going, guys? Or you, Ralph? What up?
So it was a pretty boring game, I would say. Like I didn't even watch most of the fourth quarter. I'm not gonna lie. After Flynn got that on his very first pass, he threw an interception, and I was just like, okay, I'd rather watch something else now.
Matt
Um,
Flynn, swag show.
I mean, you must have been happy, like it, right? Like
Y-
this is your team that just destroyed the Vikings.
Yeah, I was a little excited. Yeah. I'd say it was a good dominating victory. You always love to see that against a divisional opponent, but there's really not much to talk about. I was excited to maybe see Teddy Bridgewater, and it looks like he was. When I realized he was inactive, I was kind of thinking already, okay, this could be a blowout, just because of all the past Thursday night games that we've seen. The road team tends to struggle. Aside from the Giants, were the Giants at? I don't remember. Were the Giants at home last
No, they
week?
were they were away and they destroyed the Redskins.
Yeah. Well, it just tends to happen that someone gets destroyed on Thursday night football. It hasn't been good television so far for the NFL.
Yeah,
Um,
not prime time for sure. Let me just let me say the scores from all the Thursday night games real quick. Seattle 36, Green Bay 16, the first week. All right.
oh, what are we? Don't talk about it.
Well, then the next week my Steelers get killed. They don't even score a touchdown the whole game. The Ravens kill them by
20.
26 to 6.
Okay.
Um, and then the next game was just like horrific. Falcons 56, Bucks 14. Um, and their starting quarterback got hurt, and Mike Lennon had to fill in. The next week or last week was Giants 45, the only road team to win. Redskins 14, and Kirk Cousins just looked bad. Like he had 3 interceptions in that game, and
Four.
goodness,
Four.
oh, he had 4. Never mind. And then this week, um, a Teddy Bridgewater-less Vikings lose by 32 points to a very good-looking Packers team. And this Packers team was, you were really worried about them, were you not? A couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I admit, after the Detroit game, I have to say Detroit played really well that week, and they punched us in the mouth and made us look foolish. And they took our lunch money, and we looked totally ineffective. And I mean, I wasn't the only one, I think. And I think, you know, Rogers was, in his radio show. I think everyone heard him say, "Okay, we should relax. I got 5 letters for you, RELAX." And since then, he's hung. Uh, I think. I think if, like the scores of the. I think he's put 70 points up, or no, 80 points up to 27. So, not bad. Not bad. Yeah. The offense looks pretty good. I was waiting for the running game to finally show up, and this week it came back, and we had 156 yards on the ground. Eddie Lacy, he looked really good. In past weeks he was running kind of tentatively, maybe because of the concussion he suffered week 1 against the Seahawks. But it looks like he's finally back on form, hopefully, and now we have an extended rest, and we're going to go to Miami week 6.
Yeah, the Packers look good, and I just want all our viewers or listeners to know that I had a bet with this guy saying that the Packers would make the playoffs. I knew this would happen and that Aaron Rodgers would come through, and yeah, so be ready to pay up. This is official now. It's on the air.
That's it. That you know what? That will be the best $10 I'll ever give. Uh, it's a win-win, honestly. If we make the playoffs, and I have to say, Detroit looks really good. They have the divisional lead right now on us, and I think that's our first game that we're going to talk about. Bills and Lions, right?
Yeah, it is. And to start off, Joey Bell has a concussion. He's questionable for that game. And the Bills' defense is just really good. Or rush defense has been really good so far. They only allowed, I think, like 9 yards to Arian Foster last week. I know he was still kind of recovering from his hamstring injury, but I mean, other than that, I would probably pick the Lions to win this game even though their running game hasn't looked that good, everything else has been really good. We were talking earlier, and you were saying how good their defense has been. They've been pretty darn impressive so far.
Yeah, I really like their defense. They're one of their linebackers, DeAndre Levy, has played really well this year. Their front seven's beastly. They have a lot of issues, I think, in the secondary. Like when they were playing the Packers a couple weeks ago, they were starting safeties at cornerback, so they had a lot of issues. But Rodgers was not able to expose that because of all the pressure from the front seven. And their run rush defense is really good. Unfortunately, Stephen Tulloch in that game uh, tore his ACL celebrating a sack dance, which is just one of the weirdest injuries you could think of. I mean, I don't know how that happens, but
Yeah,
and but I mean they've done a really good job this year. I think they might have the best roster on paper in the entire division, but I've said that for a couple years now. But the problem is they've never really been able to put it together as a team. They always suffered a lot of penalties, mental mistakes in games over the past couple years with Jim Schwartz. They have a new coach now. And I think they're really coming into their own. They're only allowing 15.5 points per game. They look really solid. And Kyle Orton, who is going to retire, is going to be playing this game. They benched EJ Manuel this early into the season. I don't quite agree with that move for the Bills, but I'm not quite sure what they're doing. I know EJ Manuel hasn't looked very good, but I don't expect much from Orton. So I figured Detroit uh, to take this game, but not comfortably. I think the Bills have a very good defense, so that'll keep them in the game.
it's kind of weird. Like I picked the line. I have the Lions defense in one of my fantasy teams because I just don't think Kyle Orton is that good. First of all, and the Lions defense has been a top five like fantasy defense this year also. They have a really good running game, but their best running back on the Bills is probably Fred Jackson, and he's what, like 32, 33 years old. CJ Spiller has been a disappointment. He had one good year in his whole career, and the other years have been he's been either injured or not productive like he has been this year. So I was expecting CJ Spiller to have a better year and EJ Manuel to be better than last year, but it seems like they feel their best chance to win is with Kyle Orton, and for some reason they're in win now mode, and they gave up on EJ Manuel, which seems kind of funny to me.
Yeah, again, I'm not sure what they're doing. When you spend a first round pick on a quarterback, you want to give him some confidence going forward, even if he's had rough games. Again, Orton was going to retire, and it's not like they're really out of it. I mean, with the way the Patriots have played, and we know that they've owned that division over the years. Right now, they're first in the AFC East, so. I feel like if they think that their best chance to win is with Kyle Orton, they might feel like they really have a shot at this thing because they feel like their defense could keep them in games. They have some playmakers, and Sammy Watkins has shown up this year as a rookie. And with you're talking about Spiller. They just need to find a way to get him in space more. I've been saying that for forever now. In a fantasy sense, I really like C.J. Spiller. I've drafted him and been disappointed with him, but Fred Jackson is like 50 years old and he's still like one of the most underrated players in the league, in my opinion. He just does it all, and he's just such a solid player. And I don't know how old he is, but I'm just gonna say 50.
You're not far off. I'll tell you that much. Let's move on to the next game, Ravens and Colts. The Colts are kind of on fire right now, or I should say Andrew Luck is on fire. He has 13 touchdowns on the year, if you project that. over the whole season, he's going to come up with 52 touchdowns. So a historic year if he keeps up this pace. I don't think he will, but I mean, who knows? They have a good wide receiving corps and two very good tight ends in Allen and Fleener. So I'm gonna say, I mean, this is probably the toughest matchup they've had so far. They've had a relatively easy schedule. I'm gonna say Colts, but I'm not super confident in this one.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this game. This looks like one of the better earlier games at 10 o'clock, and I think I'm gonna be watching this game mostly come Sunday. I think Indianapolis, as you said, they've had a kind of a soft schedule. I really like what Pep Hamilton has done, kind of opening up the playbook for Andrew Luck a little more, and look how it's paid dividends. I could confidently say, for the first time, mind you, that Andrew Luck, the first time in his career, has looked like an elite quarterback to me. Because when you take his body of work, I don't understand what the media says when they say he was an elite quarterback before this year. He was not an elite quarterback, but to this point, right now, he is playing like one. He's balling out. They have 326 passing yards a game. That's first in the NFL. So they're letting him wing it, and it's made for some very exciting football for them. They blew out the Titans last week, and I expected Bradshaw to be a big factor because Trent Richardson sucks, and I was right. Just so their hope is that Bradshaw doesn't get injured, but he's been very effective in the red zone and on passing downs, and he looks like a good weapon going forward. Reggie Wayne is, even though he's still old, he's still very effective. But Baltimore, two really fluky Steve Smith touchdowns last week.
Yeah.
The first one was a tip drill, right? And then the second one was almost a fumbled snap where Flacco just heaves it into the end zone and Steve makes a great play.
It was a PI, or it was a PI on that same play that Flacco just chucked it up.
I agree with you when you say that this is the best opponent that that Indy has had so far. I'm going to go with Baltimore. They've held opponents to 15 points a game. Their defense looks pretty good so far. I think Indianapolis is going to get punched in the mouth, and Luck's going to deal with some serious pressure. I think Baltimore has games like this, especially with all the media pressure that they've had from the Ray Rice situation. I expect a good game from them. I expect a close game, and I think Baltimore wins by a field goal.
Okay. I can see that happening, but yeah, let's see what happens. Let's go to the next game, Browns versus Titans. I'm not too excited for this game, honestly. I don't even know if it's worth talking about much, but I guess I would say, let's see, where's it? The game, I guess I'm going to say, God, I don't know, Titans. They got Jake Locker back, so I guess that helps, and they're giving Bishop Sankey some more carries, and I guess that's good.
Yay!
I don't. Those of you who drafted him in fantasy were expecting a lot more carries, and Sean Green has been disappointing so far. So I don't see why they wouldn't give it to him more often.
Yeah, I just picked him up in one of our leagues, Rob. So watch out. Yeah, I'm not very excited about this game, but is Johnny Football playing? I'm just kidding. Yeah, Ben Tate's coming back. Wisenhunt has kind of sort of said that he's going to give more work to Bishop Sankey, so we could see some good running back play in this game. Justin Hunter's been a massive disappointment this season. Locker's been inconsistent, not a surprise. The Titans aren't really going anywhere, and the Browns. I think the Browns take this game. The Browns have had some impressive victories this season, and they're coming off a bye. Jordan Cameron's healthy. Yay. I'm very excited about that for my fantasy teams. Jordan Cameron Jordan Cameron's Spark Score. Spark Score is like a uh, I think it's developed by Nike. It's a score for athleticism. Jordan Cameron is like one of the most athletic tight ends in like the last like 20 years or something. So
Wow.
he's a sick player. Yeah. So yeah, not expecting much from this game, but I'm gonna go with the Browns taking it.
Okay. Um, Two things. Who do you think is the best running back on the Browns? Because I'm Ben Tate's always hurt, right? Let's just assume for the sake of argument that he's healthy. And would you say that he's the best back? Because I actually think Isaiah Crowell is might be the best back that they have, but he doesn't get that many carries. But I think he's their leader in touchdowns this year, and he's had some pretty nice runs so far. So who do you think is the best running back for the Browns?
Yeah, that's a good question. Before the season, I would have said Terrence West, but Isaiah Crowell has outplayed him up to this point, and I believe he's ahead of him now on the depth chart, as well deserved too. Isaiah Crowell has played really well. I would still say Ben Tate is the better pure runner, um, but he has to stay on the field, which has often been his problem throughout his career. Ben Tate with so many lingering issues. He's finally back after, I think, a 4-week absence after the first week getting injured. So hopefully he could stay on the field. But I think you're going to see Isaiah Crowell be rotated in, maybe on short yardage and get some goal line carries, and Ben Tate be the main dude.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't think Ben Tate's a 20 carry type of guy since he's made out of glass, pretty much.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a rotation because I think they understand that too.
And then the other question was, how many games is it going to take before we see Johnny Manziel start?
That is an excellent question. I really want to see Johnny football just because all the other rookie quarterbacks have played now or are starting. Teddy Bridgewater had a great game against Atlanta. Granted, it's Atlanta and they have a terrible defense, but he played really well. He was very poised and confident, and he looked great. Blake Bortles is progressing. He looks even though the Jags are going to suck really bad this year. You want him out there because you want him to get reps. That's really important. The Browns are 1-2. I think when if you start talking 1-3, 1-4, then why not put Johnny Football out there when you realize the division is out of reach? I think it's important to if you have a quarterback that you drafted in the first round, he needs to get reps. And I think if they fall a couple games behind everybody, um, they'll by week 8, maybe week 7, maybe even a little further, he will play this season. I guarantee that he will play this season. He will start. But I give credit to Brian Hoyer. He has played well and he hasn't made mistakes, and he's playing some sound football. So it's not like Hoyer has lost the job. Um, and Hoyer might just play well enough, even though they keep losing games, possibly, to just warrant starting him the entire year. Because Hoyer really hasn't, uh, to me, I feel like he hasn't lost the job yet. He's played pretty soundly.
No, I'm with you there. I just don't know when we're going to see Manziel because Hoyer's played pretty well and he did well last year before he got hurt also.
Hmm.
So, yeah, we'll wait and see. I'm just hoping for some more Browns losses because I want to see what Johnny does. I'm curious to see how he does compared to the other rookie
Oh,
quarterbacks.
yeah, ditto.
So the next game, Bears and Panthers. The Panthers' offense has been looking really, really bad. They've had a number of injuries at running back with Stewart hurt, um, Tolbert hurt, and D'Angelo hurt. I think Stewart's questionable for this game. So, and Cam hasn't been looking that good either. I think they've been holding him back because of his rib situation. So, I'm going Bears here. Jay Cutler's been looking really good this year, and I know Marshall hasn't been completely healthy, but I mean he's bound to improve every game, and they still have Alshon Jeffrey, so I'm going Bears in this game.
Yeah, I'm leaning Bears too, as much as I hate to say that. uh, I'm not sure what happened to Carolina's defense. They're really not performing up to the standard that they set last season, where they were the second best defense in the league. Um, we kind of knew that Cam would have protection issues this season, considering they lost Jordan Gross and some other starters on their line. But a lot has been made before the season started about how he doesn't have good receivers. Kelvin Benjamin looks like a stud, um,
Man.
albeit a little inconsistent, but he looks really good. So he's got a big weapon for him on the outside. Cam just needs to. I don't know. I think the lack of a running game getting going is hurting the overall offense. But Chicago should be able to be gashed on the run. The problem is they're starting, if Jonathan Stewart doesn't suit up, they're starting UDFA Darren Reeves. I don't know who this guy is. So no, I mean they're really banged up. They're all like three of their running backs are out, so they're going to have to resort to Darren Reeves and possibly Fozzie Whitaker. Uh, you know, so if they could get a ground game going, this is I want to say this for the Panthers. This is really important game for them. If they could beat, because they have Cincinnati the next week, and then Green Bay. So oh wow, okay, this is Cincinnati's slate of games up to week 10. Okay, Chicago at Cincinnati, at Green Bay, Seattle at home, New Orleans at home, at Philadelphia. Right now, they're sitting at 2-2. They're first in the division. This looks like a pretty competitive division, although everyone is underperforming, namely the Saints. Atlanta has looked really bad on defense, and that's holding them back in games, although their offense looks pretty solid. Carolina's defense is holding them back, and that was their strength last season. So right now, it's a really competitive division, and these games are really important. They really need to show up. Chicago. Their defense got absolutely torched last week by the Packers. um, so I really enjoyed that. Relax, Aaron Rodgers said. So they Chicago has some serious secondary issues. I think Cam Newton can have some time to throw in this game, but Carolina's defense has to step up because those receivers are huge. They're absolute monsters. Martellus Bennett is a monster in the middle. Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, Matt Forte could do everything. Jay Cutler, I'll look to him to get some confidence back after he didn't play too well last week. I'm going to go with the Bears too, but this is an important game for Carolina.
Yeah, that's a really tough schedule coming up. I love Kelvin Benjamin, and he's going to be a touchdown machine, I think, at his big frame and everything. One thing you mentioned about Carolina was that Cam's most effective when they have a running game established, right? And they don't have that right now. Cam's arguably best year was his rookie year, and that's also when Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo was carving up defenses too. So they need to get that going. Otherwise, I could honestly see them missing the playoffs if the Saints pick it up, but the Saints defenses look pretty bad also. So we'll see. I like for our fantasy listeners out there, I was just wondering, like Cam's been a top five quarterback every year he's been for fantasy wise, a top five fantasy quarterback every year he's been in the league. This year, I'm not sure if I don't even know if he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. So would you buy low on him? Would you sell high? What are you doing with Cam Newton?
I would sell high on him. He hasn't looked very effective this year. I think that injuries really. I think that rib injury going into the year was looked like it's hampering him a little bit. I would sell high, especially if you have another quarterback in tow. But again, it's early in the season. The Bears don't have a good defense. I really look for him to have a good game, and I think he has to have a good game if they want to win this game. So, um, if you want after this week, you should sell high because next week, for the next couple. I mean, he's playing Cincinnati the week after that, after this. So that's going to be a really tough defense. So if you want, I would sell high after maybe a good game this week.
Okay, there you go, Cam owners. Next game, Texans and Cowboys. I don't really trust the Texans, so I'm just going Cowboys. But um, and DeMarco Murray's has been on fire, so I'm gonna say Cowboys on this one. It's been kind of an interesting year for the Cowboys. They haven't really passed as much because of how well Murray's been playing, but this dude's bound to get hurt. Like I had him 2 years ago, and it was just a pain in the butt having him on my team. And I also had freaking McFadden who was injured most of that year too. So
Oh,
dreadful. But yeah, who do you have in this game?
I got Dallas as well. I think it could be a close game. I mean, Houston has a pretty good defense. J.J. Watt is gonna that's gonna be a key matchup against a Dallas O line that right now has just been road grading every team they come across. They look elite, and that's a big reason for why DeMarco Murray is having such a great year. I agree with you. I'm just waiting for him to get injured. I've owned him before in fantasy, and that's happened. He has a huge workload. I think uh, he's on pace to get nearly 400 touches. That's absurd. That has to be scaled back at some point, I would think, with either Lance Dunbar or Joseph Randle getting more carries. Um, yeah, but I really like what Dallas is doing this year. They got a new coordinator to come in. I'm not sure if he's a coordinator or he's just a consultant. Scott Linehan from the Detroit Lions. Last year, the Detroit Lions had the most pass attempts in football. So it was widely thought that Dallas throw the ball a lot this year, but that has not been the case. Linehan has scaled it back. He's taken the ball out of Romo's hands. He's made them a ball control offense. He's really playing to Dallas's strengths. Murray is a very talented running back, and the strength of their team right now is their O line, and that's just bruising everybody. I mean, give credit to Jerry Jones for putting together. And I mean, I'll be first to admit I don't think Jerry Jones is a good GM, but I might, if you're an owner, if you're a billionaire owner, and you're sitting there and you have the chance to basically make the team how you want. That's basically what Jerry Jones is doing. I think his plan was to get a crazy good offensive line, and that's what he's established, and it's really paying dividends. Taking the ball out of Romo's hands, making them a ball control offense, running the ball with Murray, taking their shots when they can. Dallas looks like a pretty good offense. I like what they're doing. They're playing to their strengths, and they're not getting crazy finishes where Romo throws like a fourth quarter interception and they lose a game in heartbreaking fashion, which we all love to see. Let's be honest. Again, I think they're going to win only because Houston, I don't think, has the firepower because of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Dallas doesn't have a good defense. They're 10th in the league right now in points per game. That is bound to regress. But again, it might not regress this week because they're playing Houston. But they are not a good defense. Everyone playing them in fantasy, what are you doing?
If
So,
you're playing them in fantasy, then you don't know what you're doing.
well, I mean, to their credit, they've only conceded 21 and a half points a game. But it is Dallas just doesn't have that many playmakers on defense, and that's just bound to regress to the mean. I think they're a bad defense. So Ryan Fitzpatrick, to me, I don't know if he could exploit their defense. I think it comes down to, is Arian Foster going to play? And if he's going to play, is he going to be healthy? I know you're dying to know that, Rob. You're an Arian Foster owner.
Yeah, two leagues. So I have
Right.
Blue and Alfred Blue in both of them. So I would suggest handcuffing him if you don't have him already if you're a foster owner.
Strongly suggest that. He's a game time decision again for this game. You have to handcuff Alfred Blue because he's going to get a huge workload if Foster doesn't suit up. But yeah, I'm taking Dallas.
So a couple questions here. Would you say that J.J. Watt is the defensive player of the year so far? Yes or
Yeah.
no?
Oh yeah. He made an absolutely absurd play last week. Totally reading Manuel, throwing it to the flat and just picking it off and outrunning everyone for 70 yards in the end zone. How many D linemen could do that? Seriously. I
Yeah.
think Pro Football Focus had the highest grade for an interior pass rusher uh, or a D lineman, I think, that they've ever recorded, and it was J.J. Watt last week. So just and they won by 17-23. So that touchdown uh, was crucial. So I mean, the guy is unbelievable. He's in his prime. I it's just a marvel to watch, and that's going to be I'm going to tune into that game to see how he does against that elite O line.
He could make an argument for the top receiver too. He has one touchdown and one pass towards him.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think they should do that more. I mean, honestly, like who's going to cover that? He's huge.
yeah.
If he has good hands, why not put him out there? That just be so sick. He could be a great two-way player.
You know, it's funny because I remember watching an E60 piece on him, and they were showing him like trying to catch more balls, practicing on that, and I was like, this guy's really not going to ever use that, and he proved me wrong. He caught a touchdown pass, and he has one more than Andre Johnson, I believe.
Oh, oh man. And
Okay,
well, props to DeAndre Hopkins, by the way. He's looking really studly this year.
yeah, he's looking better than Andre Johnson for sure. Another yes or no question: Cowboys, will they finish 8-8 again?
Yes or no? I'm not
Yeah.
allowed to extra. Okay. I'm gonna say no.
Okay, I'm gonna say yes because
Okay.
I
Okay.
I'm with Stephen A. Smith on this one. The Cowboys always do fold. If somehow, some way, they'll find a way. I've been trusting them kind of like Skip used to do in the past, and I just think they're gonna fold again. Okay, next game, Steelers and Jaguars. The last week I expected the Steelers to blow out the Bucks, and I was dead wrong on that one. And so I'm not too confident on the Steelers. I think they've been pretty inconsistent this year. I'm gonna say they win, but I'm not gonna say it's a blowout.
Oh, I'll say it for you. It's a blowout. I think you guys are gonna win. I think Antonio Brown has been the best receiver in the NFL other than Jordy Nelson this year. I think you guys are gonna win comfortably. I mean, I just don't see the Jags making a game of it unless they allow Blake Bortles to take more shots downfield. When I watched the game last week against the Chargers, Blake Bortles was they had a really conservative philosophy with their passing attack. They were giving him a lot of high percentage passes, bubble screens, a lot of short throws, and Bortles played well. He didn't have a terrible game. I thought he did pretty decently actually. He had a crazy. There was a 3rd and 17 where he spun out of pressure. He actually spin moved a dude and threw it into the flat, and the guy made a play for about 20 yards. So that, I mean, he's got the physical tools. I have a problem with his ball placement. I had that. I mean, that's been an issue for me when he came out too. It just doesn't seem that accurate to me. So I think the Steelers win it. I just don't think the Jags. I think the Jags suck. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, especially Toby Gerhart, who I picked or who I drafted in a couple of leagues, and I'm deeply, deeply regretting it right now. But
You
Bortles
tried.
had
You tried to trade me him too.
hey, he's still the starting running back. So if
Oh,
and,
come on.
yeah, Bortles had he's looked okay. Like he looked really good in preseason, and he had a nice pass to Hearns for about like 60 something yards in the last game. But I'm I just don't think it really there were any really good quarterbacks in this year's draft. So he might be the best, but Teddy Bridgewater looked actually better than him last week. So like if you're really desperate in the league and they're both available, I would go with Teddy. Um, but the Steelers, I want to say one thing about Le'Veon Bell because this is a thing we go back and forth on between who's better between Lacey and Bell. And I probably haven't been giving Bell enough credit, but I'm still going to go with Lacey. Though tell me if I'm wrong. Has Lacey seems a little bit more slower this year, and Bell looks a little bit faster. And I know Bell has lost some weight, but is that just me or am I wrong on that?
Uh, I mean, you're wrong in thinking Lacey's better. Le'Veon Bell is a stud, man. He is so studly. Oh my goodness. I mean, I think he's on pace to get like 2,300 yards from scrimmage. Just insane production from Le'Veon Bell in the passing game and on the ground. He's just doing everything for the Steelers right now. He just looks so good this year. So different from last year. Where he had a pretty pedestrian, I think 3.8 yards per carry or something like that. But this year he just looks like a different running back. And in terms of on current form, I'd say Le'Veon Bell is one of the best running backs right now in the NFL. Eddie Lacy, to your question, I think again. I mean, I don't know if it was the concussion from week one, but in the past a few weeks, he's just been running really tentatively. And I want to say this: the run blocking has not been good. It has not been good for Green Bay. Lacy has no room to run, and the play calling. And this is a totally different. I could go on for ages about Mike McCarthy and his play calling, but if I see another toss play to the outside for a guy who should be running north and south. Eddie Lacy is a in between the tackles runner. Give him the ball.
Yeah.
Tell him to hit the hole hard. Tell him to go north and south. Don't give him a stretch play. Don't give him a toss. That's going to go for no gain. He's going to get swallowed around the edge. Just don't do it, Green Bay. I don't know what you're doing. That was I mean, I think we had 6 plays in the Detroit game, 6 toss plays, and they went for a total of -2 yards. Ugh. It was just
They didn't do
disgusting. I
that
was
too
going to vomit in my mouth.
They didn't do that too much today, though, against the Vikings.
Oh, on a 3rd and 1, we did a toss play again, and I almost threw something at the screen again. It just,
Well,
yeah.
well, I think over when their careers are done, I'm gonna say that Lacey was a better running back. This year, right now, I would say Bell has been the better running back, but when it's all said and done, I'm going Lacey.
I don't think. I mean, I'm not going to say that. What I'll say about that is Lacey might have a short career with the way he absorbs hits, and he already has a concussion history now. He might have a shorter career, and Le'Veon Bell just looks like a better runner to me. But hey, man, we'll see. I want both of them to do well. I think I really like both of them, and I really like Bell. Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I'll be rooting for both of them. Um, Saints and Bucks. I'm going Saints without a question. I think this is the week the Saints bounce back. I don't think the defense is gonna do that well, but I mean they don't really have to worry about much. Mike Evans is hurt. I mean Vincent Jackson's there, but he's been disappointing, and I mean they just have to worry about Mike Glennon and I guess Doug Martin, who's also been semi-disappointing. Or actually, I would say he's been disappointing straight up. So I'm going Saints in this one. What about you?
Are they playing in the Superdome?
Let me check. I believe so. But who do you have?
Oh, I mean, if the Saints, yeah, they're playing at home. Yeah, the Saints are going to take this.
Okay,
I expect this to be a blowout. Drew Brees is going to come back with a vengeance. Jimmy Graham, multiple touchdowns.
I hope so.
Me too, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, not much to say. I think the Bucks have been pretty disappointing. I have a question for you on the Bucks, I guess. Like, do you see Mike Glennon as their future quarterback for years to
Huh.
come?
Great question. I I don't know. Um, I don't know what they're going to do when they draft next year and they see a collection possibly of, oh, Mariotta's on the board. I wonder if we should take him. Oh, wait, we have Mike Lennon. Oh, wait, screw it.
Yeah.
Let's just take Marcus Mariota or Brett Hundley or any of these other guys. That there are some good quarterbacks next year, and they project to be in the top 10 in picks. So they might take a quarterback. Although Glennon, to his credit, he looked pretty good against the Steelers, and he had a game-winning drive. So it's up to him. His season is all about Mike Glennon and seeing if he could hang on to the job for the foreseeable future.
I'm gonna say he doesn't, but let's see what happens.
Hmm.
Um, let's talk about Bucks running backs real quick. If you had to pick one, who is the better running back between Bobby Rainey and Doug Martin?
I'm gonna eat some crow here. I was a big Doug Martin fan when he came out of college, um, and I made a lot of excuses for Doug Martin last year, but Doug Martin has not looked good, and Bobby Rainey has looked more effective running the ball. And I think the Bucks might make a decision very soon where they might just give Rainey more work. And so, if I was a Doug Martin owner in fantasy, I would strongly suggest putting Rainey on the back of your bench as well, just because Lovie Smith might go with Rainey getting more touches later in the year if Doug Martin is this ineffective, because he really hasn't run away with the job in his opportunities this season. So we'll just have to see. With the Buccaneers, in both cases, Glennon and Doug Martin, we're just going to have to wait and see how they play this year. It's going to be important for them to play well.
Yeah, I agree. I think Rainey might actually be the better running back, and Martin and Glennon are kind of fighting for their jobs for the future. Next game, Falcons at the Giants. So the Falcons' defense has been pretty bad, and the Giants' defense has been, I wouldn't say like as bad as last year, but I'm actually, I think this could be a shootout. I think this could be like a 35, like maybe 42 type of game, and I'm gonna say the Falcons pulled this one out. Um, yeah, but I could see the Giants winning too. But I'm gonna say Falcons. What about you?
I'm right with you here. I think the Falcons win in a high-scoring game. Um, I mean, I just see Eli having a good day against them, and the Falcons having to pass a lot. But something happening to the Giants at the end, and the Falcons winning. But I mean, if it's going to be high scoring, it could really go either way. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants win. They've played really well these past 2 weeks. I want to shout outs to Larry Donnell. Dude came out of nowhere. He looks like he's a huge human being. And he looks like a really reliable receiver for Eli Manning. Shout out to offensive coordinator Ben McAdoo from the Green Bay Packers for making Eli look more comfortable this year in this new offense. Slants to Victor Cruz all day. Just getting the ball out quick for Eli Manning, not letting him get destroyed by a pass rush, getting the ball out quickly, giving it to Victor Cruz and those receivers on the outside to get a lot of yak. So I like what they're doing on offense. Rashad Jennings looks like a pretty good workhorse, and they have a very capable. I like Andre Williams as a capable backup to spell Rashad Jennings too. I really liked
Yeah.
Andre Williams. So I like the Giants right now, and they look like they're in better form. But this figures to also, don't be surprised. This ends up being the best game of the day.
Yeah, I agree. Interesting about Manning was he just had such a bad year last year, and in a lot of drafts he wasn't even picked. I picked Tom Brady in the sixth round in a 16-team league, and I traded him and Devin Hester for Eli today. And I was feeling pretty good until I saw the Giants' schedule. I think in let's see, like week 8 or 9. It starts with Seattle, the Niners, and
Then Dallas, and then
oh,
Jacksonville,
Dallas isn't that bad, and Jags. Okay, so I was thinking
and
maybe I
then
should.
and then Tennessee.
Okay, so I was thinking about like that was an improvement, but maybe should I trade him later? But maybe I might just keep him now, looking at that
Well,
schedule.
well, you figure the playoffs start like week 13, right? Just in time
Yeah.
for the Jacksonville game. Then week 14, you got Tennessee, which is a soft matchup. And then week 15, if that's a championship week, if he's your starting quarterback, he's playing Washington again, and he ripped them apart. So, um, I don't. That's a pretty good slate of games at the end. Actually, I mean, when you look at his last 5 games, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Washington, St. Louis, Philadelphia, that's pretty good matchups if you're Eli Manning.
Okay, I'm feeling a lot better about my trade now. But I want to talk about Brady, but we'll get to that
Ooh, yeah, the
soon enough.
Patriots. Yeah.
So next game, Rams and Eagles. I'm gonna go Eagles here. They've been pretty. They're 3-1. They could have beaten the Niners if their offense actually scored something, but they didn't. Um, but I'm gonna still say Eagles because the Rams defense isn't that good, and the Rams offense hasn't been that great either. But um, yeah, I'm gonna go Eagles there. What about you?
Eagles at home. I like that. I think they could win by a couple touchdowns. I think that I'll look to them to really get it going again this week. They, I mean, their 3 wins were all comebacks and game-winning drives, and they couldn't recreate that same magic against the Niners, who played really great defense last week. Get credit to them. So I think they'll try to get LaShawn McCoy going. I think that's really important. LaShawn McCoy, I think, might blow up this week and show and make everyone. He should just come out and say, "Hey, everyone, relax." Just like Aaron Rodgers did. I think we're going to see that a relaxed type of performance by LaShawn McCoy. He could have a big week, and I think the Eagles win big.
If it worked for Rodgers, I hopefully it works for LaShawn because I'm sure a lot of his fantasy owners have been saying like, what in the world is wrong with you? Like, interesting fact is that Darren Sproles has outscored LaShawn in every game fantasy wise, which is no one would have predicted that coming into the season.
Right. I want to say one thing about LaShawn McCoy. Um, it was very apparent the last week against the Niners that the Eagles had no confidence in their running game, and I mean it's true. They couldn't sustain anything against a very stout Niners squad. But I think it has to be said that they're missing very key players on their offensive line. They're going to get Lane Johnson, their draft pick from a year ago, back at right tackle this week. He was suspended for the first 4 games, so they're going to get him back this week. Um, Jason Kelsey was PFF's Pro Football Focus best center last year, and they're missing him for I think for a pretty long time. Like maybe he's coming back week 10 or something. I'm not sure. And Evan Mathis has been probably the best guard in football for the past couple seasons, and they're missing him, and he's out for just as long as Jason Kelsey. So those are huge road graders that contributed to them having the #1 rushing attack last season. And LaShawn McCoy has had no room to run. There's been penetration in the backfield, and he's had absolutely no room to run. So hopefully with Lane Johnson back, they could get some consistency going. Don't be surprised if LaShawn McCoy really just starts showing his round one first pick overall form at the end of the year when they hopefully get these really important offensive linemen back. But it's very important, very apparent right now that the Eagles had no confidence in their running game. I mean, if you looked at that last drive against the Niners last week, they had on the goal line three straight passing plays. Nick Foles totally ineffective. If that was the Eagles from last season, they punch that in and they win the game. But
Yep.
since they had no confidence in that, Chip Kelly he couldn't go to it. Couldn't go to his running game. It was ineffective the entire game. No confidence, and it made them one-dimensional and made the Niners easier for them to attack them.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't blame Chip. Their O-line has just been dreadful this year, so I expect them to pick it up. I expect LaShawn to have a better year or better games going forward. And I mean, the Eagles look like the best team in that division. Like, would you agree, or would you go with maybe the Cowboys?
I mean, they've had some interesting wins. Very like late in games. They haven't had a definitive win yet. Oh no, actually, I'm sorry. They came back against the Jaguars and won definitively. Totally blanked them in the second half. But I don't know. I think it's an interesting division now. The Eagles, the Giants, and the Cowboys ought to make that division pretty interesting. It looks really interesting right now. I don't know if I would say that the Eagles are definitively the best team right now.
Yeah, I mean, who it could things will change out as the season progresses.
Hmm.
But let's go to the Cardinals and Broncos. The Cardinals defense has been pretty impressive so far, even though they've had a lot of injuries and uh, a couple Pro Bowlers out and everything. But I'm gonna say Broncos here. They're playing at home and they're coming off a bye week. Wes Walker is gonna uh, like get back to his normal ways, and I think the Broncos are gonna win this one, but I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. I think the Cardinals are a very solid team. I know Carson Palmer has been dealing with nerve issues, so there's like their quarterback position has been pretty weak, and Ellington has been um, dealing with his own injuries. But that's why I think I'm going to go with the Broncos there.
Yeah, I agree with you because it doesn't look like Carson Palmer is going to play, and I don't have much faith in Drew Stanton. It's actually really sad. I really like this Cardinals team this year. I was looking to see how their defense would play after they lost Carlos Dansby and Daryl Washington and a lot of big names on that front in that front seven, and they've really played outstanding football on the defensive end. They're just balling out right now, and all credit to them for losing those big names and still churning out amazing performances on defense. But this might just be the week where they just get swamped because they just can't keep up. I just don't have faith in Drew Stanton. I mean, I said it last week or 2 weeks ago before their bye. They had to have won against the Niners to kind of show everybody that they're for real. This would if they'd win with Drew Stanton against the Broncos. Oh my gosh! I
Man,
mean, the Cardinals are a team to be reckoned with because they're winning with Drew Stanton. I mean, come on. Um,
yeah,
Andre Ellington is a player. He's a stud. In my opinion. He hasn't had a touchdown this year, but to me he's a great weapon for their offense. John Brown is a great weapon for their offense. Larry Fitzgerald, not the same Larry from the past, but Drew
man,
Stanton.
like what happened to Fitzgerald? He just like, I mean, last year he was declining too, but this year he just like against in the game against San Francisco, he didn't have a catch until like the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, all I could say to that is Michael Floyd's better. Michael Floyd is the number one, and he should be. He was the MVP of Cardinals camp, and they need to give. I mean, if it was Carson Palmer back there, I would expect Bruce Arians to call up a bunch of deep pass plays to Michael Floyd, and it would be an exciting game to watch. But Drew Stanton, can he keep shoveling Michael Floyd the ball and make it a competitive game. I don't know. He might give Larry Fitzgerald the ball a lot this game to move the chains, and I think that's Larry Fitzgerald's role going forward. Is he's a chain mover, and he's got incredible hands. He's still a very good player. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
but he's not the best the receiver on that team anymore. So I mean, I wouldn't expect consistent performances from him, but he's still a very good player. Don't get me wrong.
No, I agree with you there. It just almost seems like John Brown is better than Fitz, at least like statistically wise. But I still have faith in Fitz a little bit. Like I wouldn't buy him I wouldn't trade for him in a fantasy league, but I'm rooting for the guy because he's a Hall of Famer and he's one of my favorite players. So
Me too.
I'm rooting for him.
Oh yeah, I love Larry Fitzgerald. Japanese flying fish. That's what that's what the color commentator calls him. It's so weird. It's awesome.
Yeah. Um, Next game, a reunion for Alex Smith back in San
Ooh,
Francisco.
wow, what a game!
Yeah, I think his reception will be good though, like coming back to San Francisco, and
I
I
don't know, man. That SF crowd. I don't know. Hopefully I see a classy response, but you never know with that crowd. I'm not sure.
yeah. Um, I'm gonna say that the Niners win this one, but I mean Kansas City has played the clock really well, and Jamal Charles looked like back to his self in the last Monday night game against New England, and um, I don't think he's gonna have as good of a game because I think the Niners defense, they haven't been as good. They're missing a lot of key pieces from last year, but I mean I think part of the reason LaShawn didn't do that well was because the Niners defense was decent enough, and I think they're gonna hold Charles slightly better, but I'm still so that's why I'm going to go with the Niners here. Plus they're playing at home.
Yeah. I I don't know. This is a good game. I'm actually really excited for these late slate of games in the afternoon. Even the next one that we're going to talk about, the Jets and Chargers. But this game is awesome. It's going to be great to see Alex Smith. He's gonna want to win this game really bad to show everyone up. You can imagine this is going to be a huge game for him emotionally to come back to the Niners and just show everyone that they made a mistake and that he's a very good quarterback in his own right, and I think he is. He's decent. Not going to go any farther than that, but I think the key is going to be Jamal Charles and Nile Davis, and to see if they could. I want to see Travis Kelce be a focal point of their passing attack because he looks Gronkian to me.
Yeah, he looks good.
He looks really good. He's just running past and through and over everybody. So he looks great. If the Niners match him up with Jimmy Ward, that's a mismatch, and I would want Alex Smith to exploit that. The Chiefs, are their linebackers going to be fast enough to deal with Kaepernick? No, Kaepernick could have a great game, and I expect him to have a good game against those linebackers. They're banged up. The Chiefs have been playing really good defense, but they are banged up, and I think the key for the Chiefs in this game is going to be Tom Bahali and Justin Houston, two of the best pass rushers in the NFL. They're going to have a big game. And if Jonathan Martin is playing and not Anthony Davis, their right tackle, Jonathan Martin is going to have a really tough game. So he's going to get eaten alive, in my opinion. So if Anthony Davis is playing, that's going to be a huge boost to the Niners' prospects. If Jonathan Martin is back there, Kaepernick should expect some pressure. But I'm going to reserve on a prediction. This game looks pretty close.
I agree with you.
I'm gonna go Chiefs 23, Niners 26.
Okay, so Niners in a close one. Yeah, I agree that Martin he's been struggling lately, so that could pose some problems for them. I want to just point out it's kind of like interesting how close Kaepernick's stats and Alex Smith's stats have been this year. Alex Smith has 7 touchdowns on the year. Kaepernick has six. Smith has 891 passing yards, and Kaepernick has uh, let me see, 21 more yards than that passing wise. Uh, his completion rate for Kaepernick has been about 67, and Alex Smith has been 66. So it's kind of like really, really weird how similar their stats have been this year.
Impressive by Kaepernick to have a very high completion percentage. That's been a good part of his game that I think a lot of Niners fans like this season to see that completion percentage be so high. That's really good to see. So he's developing, but I think he needs to do better under pressure. He's still I think his passer rating drops pretty low when he faces a blitz or any kind of pressure. But he's so dynamic, he's so athletic that he can make plays happen. But I think he should expect some pressure in this game, especially if Jonathan Martin is starting at right tackle.
Yeah, definitely. 3 more games to go. Let's start with the Jets playing in San Diego. I'm just not a big fan of the Jets. I'm gonna go Chargers. Chargers here.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
same.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Do you have anything else to say? I just do not like the Jets.
The Jets. I'm not sure if I heard some rumors that they might start Mike Vick. I really think they should just stick with Geno. That would be a terrible thing to to a young quarterback's confidence if they bench him this early. And I think Rex Ryan understands that. I think he's been in this corner largely this entire season so far. So I think he's going to keep rolling with Geno, and as he should. For all the flack that Geno gets, I still think there's a lot of room to grow, and you need to have these kind of seasons to progress. I mean, you're going to have bad moments, but I think he's also had a lot of good moments. He actually had a pretty good game against the Packers a couple weeks ago. So um, until he couldn't do anything in the second half. But anyways, he just needs to be more consistent. Chris Ivory is one of the best running backs after contact. When you look at yards after contact in the league. He's a beast in the ground game, and then they have a change of pace back attack with Chris Johnson. So that's pretty interesting. I like that running scheme they have going on there with Ivory and Chris Johnson. So both teams are going to look to establish the run. The Chargers feel like they'll be licking their chops against that secondary. Rivers has been on fire. We have to talk about him maybe being MVP this year. He's in the race.
Yeah,
He
he's
looks
in the discussion for sure.
right. He looks fantastic. Just he's balling out. I mean, he's got all these weapons. He's just dishing the ball out and quickly too. He's not letting any pressure get to him, and they're controlling the clock. The Chargers are doing such a good job. And what they did against Seattle too. I mean, they moved the chains on third down. They were one of the best teams last. I think they were the best team last year on third down conversion rate. And they're doing the same this season. They're controlling the clock, a lot of time, TOP, time of possession, moving the chains, and just long, sustained drives. And that's how they're winning games. And it's really cool to see. I really like the Chargers this year. They're playing great football. So I have them winning this game.
It's kind of funny because they're sustaining those long plays without a very consistent running game. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries. Danny Woodhead out for the season, and Donald Brown is just I don't think he's very very good at all. I know what that's why he got
No. Yeah.
released from Indianapolis. Um, but yeah, back to the Jets real quick. I heard that they will go to Vic if Gino struggles in mid game. I would think that's a mistake, but their owner has publicly said that they're sticking by with him and that he truly believes that he can be a franchise quarterback. So let's see what happens. I don't think they should do what the Bills did with EJ Manuel. Let
Yeah.
the guy have him a whole year, see how he progresses, and then make a decision. And
I like that from the owner, and like I said, Rex has been in his corner. The owner's now come out and given him a vote of confidence. Gino, for his inconsistent play this year, he has to feel good about these guys being in his corner. They're giving him an opportunity, and really, he has to come through this year for them. I don't know if that means making the playoffs, but he has to show some improvement to hold off the Jets. And I mean, those fans are so harsh. I mean, last week against the Lions, they were chanting, "We want Vic, we want Vic,"
yeah,
and it was just that's a New York crowd. You know, you're going to get that. I think the Philly crowd is pretty close to that if their team plays badly too.
yep.
But I mean, that's just something he has to deal with. That's New York. That's the media. You know that's it's hard to deal with. But I'm rooting for Gino too. I don't think he's terrible. I think he has room to grow. I think he can be what they want him to be. He just, oh man, you just hate to see him make mistakes.
I'm rooting for him, but I don't think he's the future for that team. I just don't.
Mm. I
But
have I think that you might be right about that. Yeah.
um, Bengals and Patriots. Now, Bengals have been looking really good before their bye week happened, and the Patriots have been looking like trash. Um, they traded one of their offensive linemen for Timothy Wright, and that seems like to be a bad trade. Brady was pissed at the time it happened before the season, and their O-line has been troubling this year. So it seems like it was the wrong move. There are reports that Aaron Dobson didn't play the last 2 weeks, not because of injury, which was weird because he was listed on the injury report, but because he got in a fight with or in a argument with their offensive coordinator. Um, so a lot of interesting things happening to the Patriots, which were not expected, which we're not really expecting because the Patriots are usually atop of their division and they don't have these type of problems. They're still 2-2 and they're tied for the top in the AFC East, but this Patriots team and Brady and just they don't look like the same Patriots teams of past. So I got Bengals in this one.
Man, oh man, how much have we heard from ESPN and the media this entire week so far about the Patriots after that Monday night performance? It's been really tough on them. I mean, this is surprising because they have been so dominant for so long, and we're getting all this talk about possibly the end of an era, possibly the end of Brady and Belichick. Okay, everyone needs to calm down.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. Like it's pretty bad, but yeah, people need to calm down.
Right, and I mean, you listen to I watch Numbers Never Lie, all these ESPN shows. I mean, you get a lot of divergent opinions about whose fault is it, who to put the blame on. Do you put Belichick for not putting a lot of support around Brady, kind of like how Elway has for Manning, right? I mean, notice Manning has had a lot of. He's got a great O-line, which came with, when he went there, the O-line was already set for him. They already had weapons on the outside with Decker and Thomas, but he went and got Welker. He went and got Emmanuel Sanders. Elway has been retooling every year because he knows the window's short.
Yeah.
Belichick has been taking weapons away. He let Welker go, pissed Brady off. He traded Mankins. I mean, okay, here's the thing. Mankins actually didn't play well last year. He was one of the worst guards in pass protection. But it still pissed Brady off. Stop pissing your franchise quarterback off, especially one that, let's talk about Brady, maybe declining, maybe, possibly. Can we put that idea out there, national media? They just can't fathom that Brady is playing badly. So they're putting the blame on the O-line. Yeah, I think the O-line is to be blamed. This is one of the worst O-lines I've seen the Patriots have, that I've seen with Brady there, right? They don't have weapons on the outside. Yeah, okay. Gronkowski's not 100%. Yeah, okay. But Brady isn't playing well, all right? You
Well,
have to be
I
realistic.
gotta kind of argue that though, because a quarterback success is only determined by the guys around him, right? If his O-line is if he's getting too much pressure, if they can't run the ball properly, and if they don't have their probably second best receiver playing because of incidents with Josh McDaniels, then I expect Brady to struggle. I expect Brady to struggle when Gronk isn't completely healthy. I It's possible that he's maybe regressing, but in my opinion, and maybe I'm influenced by the media too much, I think that it's less of Brady and more of the team around him.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think everyone is to be blamed, and but the point I'm trying to make here is I think the Patriots got a little arrogant in the way that they've been handling this. They kind of thought that they could just keep going along, no
Yeah,
problem.
I
Just
agree.
just find players, even at just keep trading back in the draft. Uh, you know, signing street free agents like they did. During their Super Bowl years, they had 17 undrafted free agents that were hits, that were players on their team. That's amazing. That's an incredible hit rate for an undrafted free agency. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's one of the big reasons why they had a dynasty and why they've had a dynasty for so long. But they're not hitting on those anymore. They're not hitting on the draft. I think it comes down Belichick. Has not put the amount of support that Brady requires because he is regressing. I think in the context of elite quarterbacks, you might have to take Brady out because an elite quarterback, in my opinion, plays well no matter what. Is kind of, but again, you're totally right because quarterback is the most important position. It's also the most dependent position. You have an O line, you have a running game, you have weapons on the outside. It's very dependent on everything else. So you're very right when you say that. But I think we have to attach some blame to Brady because when you look at some of the throws he made against the Chiefs, he had protection, he stepped into the pocket, and he delivered terrible throws. And at what point do we say, okay, Tom, that's on you? All right, he did get swamped on some plays. He had a strip fumble. That's not on him. I mean, blindside rush, Justin Houston strip sack. That's not on him. Running game not firing. Okay, not on him. But when you step in the pocket, when you have a clean pocket, and you throw interceptions, that's on you, Brady. That's on you. I mean,
I
so
mean,
I
yeah,
think
it's hard to argue with them.
Belichick, right. I mean, Belichick, I think, has gotten a little arrogant, and I think he's had to put more support when you have an aging quarterback. So I don't know if this is an end of an era. I still expect him to win the division,
Yeah,
but I
same.
think the era is in sight. The I think it's gonna in a couple years we might be looking at a very different Patriots team. Tom Brady himself said, "I'm gonna leave when I suck." He's sucking. He's sucking pretty bad right now. But yeah, so
It's so funny that he said that this year. Like of all years,
right,
this is probably his
right,
worst year.
right. Again, and let me just say this too. It's such a Patriots thing to do to beat the Bengals at home, right? Like, watch, the entire national media is thinking this is an end of an era. And watch Belichick just have a perfect game plan, Brady
Yeah.
play out of his mind, everyone play out of their minds, and beat the Bengals, who've been undefeated and look like an elite team through the first quarter of the season. I mean, watch that happen. I want to also point one more thing. They made acquisitions in the offseason on defense. Their defense
Yeah.
looked terrible. They were getting gashed. Their linebackers looked totally mismatched against Jamal Charles. They were getting gashed by Nile Davis. I mean, the Chiefs have a pretty good 1-2 punch with Charles and Davis now. But Darrelle Revis, uh, no one's talking about him. Let me just point out that Dwayne Bowe hung 81 yards on him. He could have had a touchdown on him. I think he could have had 2 touchdowns on him, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, week one, Darrelle Revis got burned by Mike Wallace a couple times. Tannehill missed him on some deep throws, but he outright burned him. I don't know if he's a shutdown corner anymore. I mean, the dude came off a torn ACL, still had a very good year, but maybe he's regressing too. So no one's talking about Darrelle Revis, but he's been not looking like Darrelle Revis through the first quarter of the season. So that's something to look at too. But yeah, the Patriots. I don't know. I'm going to take the Bengals in this game, but I would not be surprised if the Patriots win because they're the Patriots.
Right. No, I agree. I'm gonna go Bengals here, but I'm not gonna like. I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots won, just because you're right. It's the you don't. It's you just expect it from a team like the Patriots, who with that type of experience and swagger. And about Revis, I mean, I don't even think it's an argument anymore. I mean, I think Sherman's easily the best cornerback in the NFL right now, and I mean, a couple years ago before his injury, I mean, it was a legitimate argument. Um, but I mean, wow, the Bengals look really really good. We should give them props for how well their defense has been playing.
Oh yeah.
Um, Andy Dalton looks better this year, and they're doing this without Marvin Jones, who was expected to come back, but then had an ankle injury in practice, so I don't think he's gonna play. Um, and AJ Green hasn't been completely healthy either with a turf toe. So um, give props to them. I'm expecting them to win, but let's see what happens.
Right. They're holding opponents to 11 points a game, and with the way the Patriots' offense has looked, that might be around that number in this game. They look awesome on defense. Just so many studs on defense for them, and I mean they look like a complete team. My problem is, and I mean this is a totally like going into the playoffs now. I expect them to be in the playoffs. I had them winning the division, but is Andy Dalton good enough to lead them to a Super Bowl? I have no idea. He's looked really bad in the postseason in his career. Like, not just bad, like terror bad. Terror bad. Just, I mean, Charles Barkley just shaking his head. Not terrible. I mean, it's just.
Can I say one thing on that?
Sure, sure.
I'm not a I'm not a big fan of the Ravens, right? Because I'm a Steelers fan. But the Ravens won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco at quarterback, and the Ravens won a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer at quarterback. So I think the Bengals can, if he just limits his mistakes. If he could keep the number of interceptions to 0 to 1 every game, then yes, then they can make it to the Super Bowl. But if Dalton folds under pressure, then no. Then we're looking at a first round exit like in years past.
Right. I don't know. Here's the thing about Dilfer. I'll give you that. He's not a good quarterback, and that was a historically good defense that he had with him, and they blew out the Giants in the Super Bowl 42-7, I think. Joe Flacco had the best postseason run of any quarterback not named Joe Montana. Joe Flacco had, I think, 11 touchdowns and 0 picks.
Yeah, he had 0 picks.
Joe Flacco was balling out. He was not Joe Flacco. He was just it was like mutant Joe Flacco. I don't know what it was, but he was just balling out, and it looked like who he beat. I think he beat, if I'm not mistaken, he beat Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning,
Yeah.
Tom Brady in the championship game, and then Colin Kaepernick in the Super Bowl in a blackout game. So, I mean, he was playing out of his mind, and then he got that fat contract. And I don't know, Joe Flacco might be. I mean, for a lot of quarterbacks, they look good in the regular season, and then they wilt under pressure in the postseason. We could talk about some players not playing particularly well or playing at an elite level in the regular season. Joe Flacco might be one of those guys who is that, and then in the postseason just raises his level of performance. I mean, there's something to be said about that. The way he played, I don't know if it was entirely fluky. You can't just do that in 4 games in the postseason and win a Super Bowl. It's very hard to win a Super Bowl and sustain that level of high play. So props to Joe Flacco and the Ravens for winning that Super Bowl. If he goes into postseason again and does it, then that could be a real thing. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, that's all pretty much what I'm trying to say about Dalton too. Like, if he just pulls a string of games where he only gets like a couple interceptions, like the whole postseason, then maybe they could do something because their running game looks really good. Giovanni is a stud, and their defense is stacked too. So he doesn't have to play out of his mind. He just has to limit the amount of turnovers, um, and then who knows? Anything could happen in the postseason.
Yeah, I agree. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds to find Andy Dalton's postseason stats. Give me.
Oh
Hold
man,
on.
this is gonna be ugly.
Okay. Hold on. All right. So in oh gosh, hold on. In 3 games. In 3 games. First game, 27 to 42, 257 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Lost that game against Houston, 10 to 31. Second game, 14 of 30, 127 yards for no touchdowns, 1 interception. Uh, Third game, 29 of 51 uh, for 334 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. So a combined total of 1 to 6 touchdown interception ratio, uh, passer rating of 56.2. 0-3 in the playoffs. Not a lot of confidence in Andy Dalton to this point, but again, like you said, it just takes one postseason run, and you're in a Super Bowl, and then you can make it happen. With this team, this is an elite team around him. This team
Yeah,
could absolutely do it. But again, the quarterback is the most important position, and you have to play on up to par. And Trent Dilfer didn't make too many mistakes, and Andy Dalton has to do the same thing. So we'll see. We'll see if he gets it together.
yeah. Let's see what happens. But they look like the best team in the division, by far. The last game we're going to talk about is Seattle playing at Washington, and yeah, I'm going with the away team in Seattle easily. Kirk Cousins struggled last week mightily against the Giants, so I'm not sure what to. I'm expecting something just as bad, if not worse, from a very good Seattle team who hasn't, which haven't been great this year. I mean, they lost to San Diego. They let San Diego put some points on the board, and then um, they had three very good quarters against Denver, but um, they also seemed to allow Denver to get back in the game. So I'm still going Seattle, but um, yeah, it's gonna be a blowout in my opinion.
It could be. If Kirk Cousins doesn't throw to Richard Sherman and he shuts down that side of the field, I have no faith in him throwing anywhere else with Earl Thomas rolling coverage to that other side and those other DBs that Seattle has going up against their receivers. That just that just screams turnovers to me. Seattle might get. I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll get multiple interceptions. It could get ugly. Cousins was visibly losing confidence against the Giants after I think his second pick, and he was making just terrible decisions. You cannot make terrible decisions around Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman and Byron Maxwell. And Cam Chancellor. They will pick the ball off. They will put them in excellent field position. They will eat the clock. They'll run the ball right down your throat with Marshawn Lynch. Russell Wilson is a robot. He doesn't make mistakes. I mean, if you get pressure on him, he'll scramble out and still make it into a positive play. I mean, they're an elite team. So it doesn't look like a good matchup for Kirk Cousins. This could get ugly.
So before the last game, Kirk Cousins looked pretty good, and there was talk of him maybe taking over the starting job permanently, even when RG3 comes back fully healthy, which should be sometime this year, possibly week 11. Question to you is, would you rather have RG3 starting or Kirk Cousins?
Well, the thing with RG3, the talent is there. He's learning a new offense, and when he comes back, he's still going to be learning a new offense. So if he doesn't play well, if they reinstate him with the starting job and Kirk Cousins doesn't play like really well up to when he returns, to warrant giving him the starting job. If RG3 gets the nod week 11 or 12 when he comes back, he might be slow in those early games too. So, but I absolutely have faith in RG3 as a franchise quarterback. You have to put him in the right system, play him to his strengths, like any quarterback. But he's a young quarterback, and when you look at what he did his rookie year, he's and when you look at a lot of quarterbacks historically, their rookie year, they don't play well. So it's very impressive what he did his rookie year. I don't think it should be just. I think that's very that should be thought about. I mean, it just seems to me that he's not getting a fair shake. The biggest issue is he just needs to stay on the field. He's just so injury prone now. I mean, he made a fantastic play week 2, rolling out and throwing on the run, made a completion for 20 yards, but dislocated his ankle. I mean, come on. I mean, just freak plays like that, and you can't survive in the NFL. I mean, RG3 is looking like a cautionary tale possibly at this point.
Yeah. He
Like,
needs to learn how to slide, first of all.
right. He needs to not be, reckless too. I mean, and I think I'm sure his coaches tell him that. And I think he needs to show. I mean, if he comes back and plays this season, it's going to be very important that he stays healthy and finishes strong to show everyone in Washington, hey, I'm still your guy. I'm still a franchise quarterback. Because I'm telling you right now, Kirk Cousins is not a franchise quarterback. He projects to me as a career backup. When you take a look at his stats over a good amount of games, they're not impressive. If they could get anything for Kirk Cousins, like maybe trade him to the Rams or something, that'd be hella funny. But if they could trade him to some team that's really quarterback needy, I don't think any of the other teams are going to budge, because I think they see that Cousins is not franchise worthy. RG3 has the talent to do it, but the number one thing in the NFL, all the talent means nothing if you don't stay on the field, and it's the biggest issue for him. And then learning an offense and having continuity with an offensive coordinator and a staff. When you look at Alex Smith, he went through 5 different coordinators. What was it? I don't know how many different coordinators he went through in his first years with the 49ers. He couldn't establish any continuity and trust in an offensive scheme, and he struggled. And I mean, that's to be expected. With a young quarterback, you have to give them confidence. You have to give them the support, and you have to kind of hold their hand through the tough times that they're expected to have in this league. And then look at Rodgers. He sat 3 years behind Brett Favre in the same system. He's been with Mike McCarthy his entire career. Now he has total mastery of this offense. He makes it look easy. Why? Because he has so much time with this offense. I think Alex Smith would be a very different quarterback if he had the same offensive coordinator his entire career. And I think you could say that for a lot of quarterbacks. It absolutely matters, their coaching staff and the continuity for a quarterback. You're learning a new playbook. So I wouldn't be. I think RG3, if he comes back, he has to show Redskins fans that they could. Oh man, I just said Redskins. Oh, I said it again. I would say I didn't want to say that word. That's another story. Anyways, the R word. I mean, Washington fans, that he has to show them that he's a franchise quarterback, and I think he is a franchise quarterback.
I think I agree with you. It's more evident after the game that Kirk Cousins had against the Giants last week. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, let's look at Alex Smith with Jim Harbaugh versus like whoever he had in his rookie year. Like it's night and day. So the coaching makes a huge impact on a player, and let's just see what Gruden's offense is like for RG3. I mean, a lot of people say it's not tailored to his skill set because that type of offense is better for a pocket passer. But then again, let's just see, because RG3 is a decent passer too. He just has other skills that he could utilize, but has gotten him injured to this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree with you.
The key to these running quarterbacks is, I mean, you could have all this athleticism, like the Kaepernicks and the RG3s of the world, right? All this potential that we talk about with them, I don't like talking about potential with athletic quarterbacks because if you want to be a very successful quarterback in this league, it, I can't stress this enough. You have to be able to pass from the pocket. I don't care about how much athletic ability you have. That has to be secondary. Your legs
Yeah.
have to be secondary to your brain. That's why I don't think it's close right now between if you're comparing Russell Wilson to Colin Kaepernick. Russell Wilson's better from the pocket right
Yeah.
now. I mean, and Kaepernick, we talk about all the potential he has, but and we talk about the potential RG3 has, and Johnny Manziel and all but they all have to be better from the pocket if they want to be better going forward. That is how you kill teams and you kill defenses in the NFL. That's tried and true. I mean, that's never going to change. Um, it's just I can't stress that enough.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you, and that's why Wilson and Luck have been the far two better young quarterbacks of the future. That about does it here on Kill the Clock. We went over all the games this coming weekend. Any last thoughts?
Um, I don't know. I had fun. This was great.
Yeah.
I'm still I'm
We'll do
still
it.
I'm still riding a high from our domination of the Vikings. Always love when we beat a division rival like that. Woohoo!
I'm not gonna bust your bubble hair, but it wasn't super impressive with the injured Vikings team without any Adrian
Okay,
Peterson.
okay. Don't okay. My bubble's pretty big, man. I don't know if you could burst it. Hey, if Mike Zimmer is listening to this, or Norv Turner, I know they're like 0% chance they're listening to this. But someone, please tell Norv Turner to give Jerick McKinnon the ball. Okay?
Seriously, he
Seriously.
he looked better than Asiata by a lot, and even the last game, it was like, oh my God, like the McKinnon has just so much potential. I don't know. I know his pass blocking could get better, but wow, like he had like a 60-yarder in the last game that just like kind of took my breath away, and I was like, why did I release this guy so early?
Right. I will say this. I mean, yeah, the pass blocking is an issue, but I mean, the only thing I can say about Matt Alciata, he's really good at pass blocking. He stones people. I
Yeah,
mean, I think that's why they trust him more. But if you want to win going forward, Norv Turner, put the ball in Cordero Patterson's hands, put the ball in Jerick McKinnon's hands. Those are your freak athletes that can make plays. Do it to win games. Come on, man. Come on,
yeah,
man.
no, definitely. Um, yeah, we went over the time, but let's we'll continue this next time on Kill the Clock. All
Bye,
right,
guys.
thanks for joining us, guys.